I have a message for the Big Ten basketball referee. His name is Paul Sells, the dude with the crew cut. You're trash.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I am your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. And whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you're going to download this podcast, it's always going to be free. I'm always going to be appreciative of your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Normally, Friday's episode of Locked On USC, it ends with a Friday rant. Well, I'm breaking protocol. I'm going to talk about the way the Big Ten made sure, pretty much guaranteed, that Purdue was going to advance to the next round. We're going to talk a little basketball at the top of the show. I got a lot to talk about, though. Football commitments, recruiting. Stick around. You're going to want to hear this Friday rant. You know, I just kind of get the impression that the Big Ten got the memo. They sent it out to all the officiating crews. We want to make sure we get 10 teams into the big dance. It sure looked like it in the USC versus Purdue second round tournament game. I mean, I thought I had dealt with the Big Ten conference officiating stench during football season. Well, they took it up to a whole nother level during the basketball season. Before this game tipped off, USC was a 10.5 point underdog. No one was expecting USC to be in this game, especially when you consider how poorly USC played the last time they played Purdue. And I get it, Desmond Claude didn't play in that game. Still, Purdue is a better basketball team this year than USC. I mean, remember, USC played a double overtime game the night before, and then they come out, play as hard as they can, and they lose 76-71 because of that putz with the crew cut, who was one of the three officials in the game. He just seemed to always be the one that was causing USC issues, making the bad calls, interjecting, making calls from the other side of the court where he couldn't even see. A-hole. I'll just call him a putz. I counted at least 3 extra possessions that they gave Purdue when the ball clearly went out of bounds off of one of their players. And I get it, you can't check the replay tape until there's under 2 minutes to go. But just gather together. There's 3 of you out there to say, you know what, did I miss the call? Did I screw up? It's okay. But when you don't do that, it kind of gives the impression that we got to make sure Purdue gets through. USC was playing in foul trouble the entire game. I mean, Desmond Claude had 2 fouls early. Somehow that guy, Kaufman-Wren, player of the year in the Big Ten Conference, he was able to play with 3 fouls and never picked up his 4th foul during the game. Meanwhile, you've got USC players playing with one hand tied behind their back. Claude had 2 fouls early. The refs were protecting Braden Smith, the point guard for Purdue, really good player. Kaufman-Wren, another really good player. I don't know, maybe the referees felt bad because they had to watch Josh Cohen, get into a wrestling match with Kaufman. They're on the floor, on the ground, wrestling around for the ball. Josh not only took his milk money, he then ripped the ball away. It was just a bad look for Purdue. And then right after that sequence of events, because Purdue got to keep the ball, Josh actually got a charging call off of Kaufman-Wren. But that was the last call USC got. I mean, Coach Muss was asked about, after Desmond collected his 2nd foul. He was asked by Andy Katz during one of the timeouts. And Muss was like, I guess we are a physical team. I thought Purdue was supposed to be physical. His point was, how come USC's getting all the calls going against them? Here's a perfect example of why the referees in this conference suck. USC had a 10-point lead in the first half. The refs were calling everything. Ticky-tack stuff, blowing the whistle. Go to timeout. All of a sudden, coming out of that timeout, Purdue's down by 10. They stopped calling anything. And all of a sudden, the home court, it was in Indiana. So their crowd gets behind them. The referees start getting influenced. And then in the second half, Claude picked up his third and fourth foul before the first media timeout. For those of you who are like, well, okay, well, what's the big deal? Well, they hadn't even, 4 minutes had not even come off the clock yet. We're talking, all of a sudden, here we go, ticky-tack, calling it again. They knew that if Claude was in the game, it was going to be an issue for Purdue. And Coach Muss, he was agitated after the game, and for good reason. In the second half, the game was just going back and forth. It was like 11, 12 lead changes, bunch of ties. There was 5 seconds left in the game. Wesley Yates got pulled down by Braden Lewis. No call. So after the game, Coach Muss was asked about it. And he said, yeah, you know what? We're USC. We're new to the conference. We got to earn respect. Did I believe USC had a chance to win 5 games in 5 nights? No. But they shouldn't have to play against the refs and the conference just because they're trying to make sure they can get as many teams into the big dance as possible with the highest seeds. I get it. You want to play, I understand conference love. I don't play that game. It's USC versus the world. So I'm watching this game. Yates is getting called for offensive fouls for using his off arm to push off. Meanwhile, you got Kaufman-Wren, Purdue's best player. I think he finished the game with 30 points. He's allowed to use his shoulder like he's a hockey player, checking guys into the boards. USC did what they needed to do to win this game. They had the biggest lead of the game. They had 10 points. It was in the first half. And again, coincidentally, that's exactly when the refs started to get involved, influencing the game. How involved, you ask? Let me just put it in a proper context for everybody. When the game ended, USC had made 10 of 14 free throws. Okay, good percentage. Purdue had shot 23 free throw attempts. Desmond Claude, Wesley Yates, Rashawn Agee, Uzo Agbo. They all had 4 fouls. In fact, Agee fouled out at the end of the game. He was forced to foul, they had to send Purdue to the free throw line just to give themselves a chance to get the ball back and, make shots. It was so bad, even the TV commentators were questioning the 4th foul on Agee. It was blatantly bad. And one of the commentators on TV for the Big Ten Network, his name's Robbie Hummel. Yeah, the same one who played for Purdue. Even he was like, oh, this is, wow, no call. It was just flat out pathetic and embarrassing. And I know USC, the team was feeling it. They were pissed after the game. They actually got into a scuffle. I don't know how. I think it was more of a verbal scuffle with some Purdue fans. Terrible. Terrible. USC was going back to the locker room. Purdue fans were chirping at them. So there it is. The men's season is over. They played as hard as they could. They fought to the end. I love what Coach Muss is building. It's just unfortunate that, you had 11 transfers. It's hard to build that culture. I wish there was a way. I hope there's a way that they can get Rashawn Agee one more year at USC. I love the way that dude plays the game. He reminds me of Kurt Rambis with a 3-point shot. Dude, he's just tough as nails. He does all the dirty work. He plays tenacious defense. He'll sacrifice his body. But like I said, he can score the ball as well. So season doesn't go as well as we wanted it to, but I had to get this rant out of the way. I was ticked off watching that game, watching it unfold, and watching. You know what? USC probably should have won this game. They did everything they could have. They played well enough to win. But when you're playing against the referees and you're on the road, basically you're playing in Indiana, West Lafayette's in Indiana. It was a home court advantage for Purdue. I don't know how much of a chance they really had. So there you go. Basketball season over. Women still playing. Hopefully we can get AG back for one more year. Maybe they can petition. We'll see. Let's talk some football. Got a lot of information for you, so stick around. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring the off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. March Madness is here. You heard it. I was hoping, I was praying, just never happened. But FanDuel is here to give you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Using FanDuel keeps you in the action. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on, and it's easy and it's fast. The FanDuel app is so simple to use that when you win, you're going to get paid instantly. You're not going to wait around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Who remembers the USC motto, prep, not hype? Remember that mantra? USC football general manager, Chad Bowden, he's getting the fans hyped up for big things to come. I mean, he is setting an expectation level right now that is off the charts. He sat down recently. He had another interview. This time he sat down with an exclusive interview with Keely Eure from the USC athletic site. He was doing, some of you will probably have to use Google and look up this name, but Chad Bowden was doing his best Lee Iacocca sales job. Lee Iacocca, automaker. It was part of the automotive industry. Go look him up. You'll understand. His message has been very clear. USC is the place to be, and you won't find a better option out there. And if you do, don't be fooled. So again, how many of you remember prep, not hype? That was back in 2012. Lane Kiffin was the head coach. What's changed in the last, decade plus, when it was all about preparation and not the hype? Because right now it's all hype. And it's just like, you know what? Just let's trust that the preparation is being taken care of. Have that blind faith. Is that what it's going on? Is that what we're doing right now? Is everyone bypassing the preparation part and going full hype because Chad Bowden said, make it so? This is not a knock on Chad. In fact, I got some really cool quotes from his most recent interview. I'm going to go over those quotes here in just a moment. But it kind of reminded me that, you know what? He's like the front man. He's the hype man right now. And I just remember a little over a decade ago, prep, not hype. So that phrase, prep, not hype, well-known motto, started under Kiffin. It's all about preparation, hard work, not about the hype and flash. Well, that's what USC's selling right now. Hype and flash. And USC's the place to be. At one point during the interview, it's almost like Chad Bowden was talking to Keely like this, and he looked and turned to the camera, and he broke down that fourth wall. When you're in your role, you're acting, but then you start talking to the audience like they're in the room with you. So here's some of the best quotes. I want all of our fans to know that when you see this Time to Win fundraising campaign, this is a position of power. He doesn't want people to think that they're begging for money. We have a lot, but we're going for it all, and the time is right now. This is the best high school class in the state of California in probably 2 decades, and we're coming for it. And these coaches know, and these players know. So this campaign that House of Victory is on right now, basically every little bit matters. So get on over there and make your donation, whether it's $25, $250, $2,500, $25,000, whatever you can do, drop it off there, make the donation, because they're going after every single recruit they can get, especially ones from California. He talked about putting a fence up, or as he put it, gating California. Quote, gating California. That is what we're doing, building a fence around the state of California and what I like to call the state of Los Angeles. It just means more to those kids, end quote. He's correct. Absolutely, 100%. California, the class of 2026, loaded. And the whole, it just means more to the kids. That goes to my point. Remember, I was talking about this, about wanting to fight for it, defend your neighborhood. I want the Southern California recruits who literally want to rub UCLA's face in the dirt every single day they're breathing. I want the recruits in Southern California to come play for USC so they can drink up the Duck fans, their players, all those tears. And I want those guys to take great joy in kicking the snot out of those Notre Dame leprechauns. Because that's what USC's competing against right now when it comes to recruiting. Oregon, Notre Dame, and guys who grew up in Southern California, they understand the USC versus UCLA rivalry. That's why I want those types of players. I like this next quote a lot. Quote, we're going to bow up. I'm going to keep saying that. I want people to know we're here because there's not a better program for these kids. This is USC. We are the best, and we don't sit back and take a back seat to anybody. We're coming for every single program in that light, end quote. Like I said, I get the sense that the hype is front and center right now. It was, like I said, Lee Iacocca back in the late 70s, early 80s. He was the head of Chrysler, and it wasn't that attractive at the time. He said, if you find something better, go buy it. But he was basically saying, hey, buy my product. And that's what he's selling right now to the kids. Here's my second favorite quote. We're going to be aggressive and thoughtful. Anytime someone recruits against us, they're going to know we are ready for the fight, end quote. Great. Start protecting what's yours. I like that message. He was asked about, as far as Lincoln Riley being a recruiter, his answer was, as far as being a recruiter, Lincoln Riley is the best head coach I've ever been around. That answer was sly. It was worded well. I don't know if it if I got the right context out of it, but you can go check out the interview. Listen for yourself. Tell me what you think. Because to me, I'm getting the impression that Laken Riley is the brains, the savant, the X's and O's guy. But right now, it almost feels like Chad Bowden is becoming the face of the program when it comes to recruiting. If that's the new paradigm shift, I'm just going to have to adjust, I guess. I come from the school of your head coach is your lead recruiter. Your head coach is the face of the program. Everything starts and stops with him. It's a team effort, though, right? That's how we're supposed to. That's how it's being sold. Here's another quote. Our big message to these kids is, don't sell yourself short for something else. Don't negotiate down to any other opportunity. You know what? I like that one. You know, each recruit is going to interpret that one differently, depending on what their situation is. But it's kind of like a challenge. Come to USC, challenge yourself. Don't settle for anything less. USC is the place to be when it comes to competition, academics, networking. Take advantage of it. Don't let somebody else sell you something that can't give you everything. So that was Chad Bowden. Like I said, you can check it out. Go to YouTube when you're done watching this episode of Locked on USC on YouTube. And if you are watching right now, do me a favor. If you haven't been a subscriber yet, click that red subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. Pretend you're the Hulk. Smash. And click that bell notification. All that's going to continue to help the show grow. And I'm going to keep you updated throughout the off season. This is the only show coming at you 5 times a week. I got one more quote for you. This one comes from someone who's committed. And Chad Bowden also deserves some credit because he helped forge the relationship with Simodi Kadawanga, the defensive end from Santa Margarita Catholic, head coach Carson Palmer. This is what Modi had to say. I've been to USC before, but there's something building there that keeps me wanting to be there more. I'm locked in with USC. No need for any more visits. End quote. That is exactly what we all want to hear. The local recruits, they're buying in. They see the vision. They believe it. They want to be part of the group that takes USC from here and puts them here, back at the top. They believe. So again, I'm cool with all the hype, but the expectation level is going to be through the roof. I mean, speaking of expectation level, Scott Schrader over there at wersc.com said there's going to be some good news today. You're watching this episode Friday, March the 14th. So which recruit is pulling the trigger? Is it, I'm just going to throw out a few names. Is it going to be Dylan Berryman, that big defensive tackle from Monroe, Louisiana? He's a friend of Jakeem Stewart. When you look at this guy, he reminds me of Cedric Ellis. I mean, the dude is a unit. Big. Space eater. Looks really athletic. I've mentioned the name at running back to Sean Rideau how many times? More than you can count. Is he ready to pull the trigger? What about, here's a name I haven't mentioned before. However, Steve Wiltfong from the On3 Network said, pay attention to this name, Jamian Winfield. He's a top 100 player, top 10 defensive lineman. He's from the state of Texas. There's a lot of interest between USC and this young man. Maybe it's Richard Anderson. He's another defensive lineman from the state of Louisiana. I know Jakeem Stewart wants him. They're good friends. I know Coach Haney is forging a strong relationship with him. So I don't know. Well, I do know who it is. With that being said, we never steal the thunder from a young man who's getting ready to make an announcement. So USC is getting a dude today. That's all you need to know. So make sure you check it out. And we'll talk about that next commitment because USC recruiting right now, it's en fuego. It's on fire. All right, one more segment to go. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between eating out and entertainment, shopping online, it's easy to lose track of your money. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's like having your own personal chief financial officer giving you full visibility and control over your own finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop managing your money and start building wealth. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use a Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, so normally this is when I would be doing my Friday Rant, the end of the week. I got that out of the way up on the top of the show, talking about the men's hoops team. They really deserve some attention after the way they were cheated out of the Big Ten tournament. Anyways, moving on. Instead of doing a Friday Rant, I thought I'd answer a few viewer listener questions. Close out the week. Make you guys part of the show. This one came from an everydayer. His name's Dave Chavez. He says, "Morning, Mark. I'm familiar with Forrest Zimmerman. If you're an everydayer, you've heard me mention that name. He was my old English teacher in high school at Millikan High School. He always talked with his hands like this. He had a big impact on me. Here's Dave's question. Oregon has several California players committed for 2026, but I only hear about two USC is interested in, Cody Green and Tom Topui. I don't hear anything about Tristan Phillips, who's a linebacker from Ventura, 6'3", 215 pounds, 4-star, top 300 player, yada, yada, yada. I believe we need at least 4 linebackers in the cycle to go with our front line. That is in 2025 and 2026 classes. And they asked about anybody from St. John Bosco. It doesn't look like USC is showing a lot of interest in Tristan Phillips right now. The guy has a solid offer sheet. Don't get me wrong. Besides Oregon, Notre Dame, UCLA, Oklahoma's on there. I think USC wants him to come out to spring camp practice, gauge his interest. That's what I've been able to find out. As far as anybody USC is interested in from Bosco, I would keep an eye on that program for 2027. Specifically a player, defensive lineman. His name is Richie Orozco, defensive tackle. I've not seen a whole lot of guys that USC's looking hard at right now in the 2026 class. Again, we use the F word around here all the time. That's fluid. That could change tomorrow. Again, spring camp's coming up. Get guys on campus, gauge interest. Here's another everydayer. His name's Walter Clark. Listens to the show every day. He commented on the general manager topic from the show the other day when I asked, did it take losing 6 games for USC to finally wake up, make the necessary changes? Morning, Mark. Didn't Coach Lincoln Riley say that they were looking for a general manager for over a year? So yes, I think they would have hired Chad Bowden. End quote. When Coach Riley met with the media, after they hired Chad Bowden, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, It was one of the more detailed and involved hires that I've been a part of. So yes, they have been looking for a general manager. I know that they made overtures to Courtney Morgan down there in Alabama. He was the first guy. They made a couple of offers after that to other people. So I guess the question is, did USC just say, we're all in, we want Chad? Did they make him an offer that he couldn't refuse? I mean, he's obviously being well compensated. I got a question from Lou the Lucky 568. How many of USC's 6 losses were because of coaching? I'm going to go with Minnesota, Maryland, Washington. Those are the 3 games where USC should have ran the ball more. I talked about how Woody Marks had 20 carries, 134 yards, was running for over 6 yards per attempt against Minnesota. Didn't touch the ball for the final 10 minutes of the game. Washington, anyways, yes, 3. I don't want to get into another rant. So there's your answer, Lou the Lucky. 3 because of coaching. Not all because of coaching, but you get my point. And then here's a question from Trojan Condor. Optimism around the football program keeps surging. Can we maybe funnel a little NIL money towards our men's basketball team? We only need 5 all-star players. I'm sure we can pay 5 to come make us relevant in basketball next year. My answer is, I hope so. I think they're going to do it. Gilbert Arenas' son isn't coming on the cheap, even though he's a one and done. But yes, let's give Coach Muss now a full offseason to keep the recruiting going. He's doing a really good job. I like the direction that he's got the guys going. This was a tough season. They actually, if things would have broken their way, maybe had Claude not gotten injured during this in February, this team had a chance to win 20 games. The defense kind of broke down towards the end of the year. I think they lost their legs. And you saw how many points they were giving up. So yes, NIL will be there for the basketball program. I will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll do this all again 5 times next week. We're going to talk about recruiting, the commitments. Who knows how many they get between now and then. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.